What up, what up, what up, though?
What's up?
Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Fam. It's your boy, Reverend Stu.
Reverend Stu. And this is your girl, Tykia.
Tykia.
So happy to be back here with you guys.
I know, it's exciting. And I'm really excited. I repeated myself for no reason just now. I'm really grateful, and I am excited because I've seen the way people have engaged and resonated with Let's Talk Fam and the way y'all shared and engaged with it. I love it. I'm really excited. That's cool. Podcasting is cool, though. That's cool.
It is.
That's cool.
It's
I like
great.
It. Yeah.
It's great to be in a place where you can kind of share some things that you're reading, some things you're thinking through, processing with other people in community. Community is important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It don't got to be perfect. The imperfections. My editor said this today, and it blessed me. It blessed me. He was like, the imperfections lead us to the authenticity. Okay. And I was like, you better preach. It's like the imperfections lead us to the authenticity. I actually talked with a list. This is a very hard sentence to say, but imperfections lead us. You're right. Lead us to the authenticity. I was like, I really like that. So, all right, random question. We're gonna starting episodes with just random questions. Then we're gonna get into what we're talking about. Today we're talking about faith in the digital age, and I just think it's a very important conversation. But before then, Tykia, random question that we was talking about.
Yeah, not a problem. So, if you could have dinner with 4 people, who would it be with?
Dead or alive or both?
Dead or alive.
Dang, that's tough.
Is it?
It
gives
is.
you more options.
I know, because I love so many people that I ain't gonna say Jesus, number one. I'm not gonna say Jesus.
Okay.
That's just a cliche answer.
Well, you just said it, but okay.
Nobody in the Bible. I care little to talk to them about anything right now.
Okay.
We got any words or whatever.
Any 4 that you want to
Okay, I bet. Okay, so I think, of course, James Baldwin. It's I gotta talk to James Baldwin. That's definitely one. Josephine Baker, got to be another one for me. That's dang. I gotta have 2 living people too. Dang.
I mean, there's wisdom in those who left.
I know. I would love to. One of my favorite composers. He's actually passed away. He died a few years ago. His name is Johan Johansson. He's a composer, and I would love to have dinner with him. And one of my favorite poets, her name is Louise Glick. Okay. She passed away in 2021, I think. And I would like to talk to her. So Baldwin, Baker, Louise Glick, and Johan Johansson. What about you?
I will say, it's going to sound a little controversial, but this is also dinner, okay?
Okay.
Conversations will be had. Things will be thought. I will say Kanye West.
Okay. Start from the jump.
I will say Kayende Wiley.
Okay. Artist. Okay.
I will say Bell Hooks.
Okay. Theorist.
And then Dr. Tama Bryant.
That would be a very interesting dinner.
Absolutely.
That would be a wild dinner.
There would be some great conversations.
There would be some great conversations.
There's a lot of innovation and healing in that conversation.
Yeah, I could see Bell Hooks talking to Kanye. No, you gotta. Yeah, because Bell Hooks up with that high-pitched voice.
She just holds space.
I know. I love
Dr.
it.
Tama Bryant would just hold more space. And
that would be so cool. Who was your other one?
Dr. Tama Bryant.
I know her. Bell Hooks.
Kayende Wiley.
Oh, yeah. The artist, the painter. Mm-hmm. That's a good list.
Well, more than just painter.
He's a multi-hyphenate.
Correct.
Artist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, y'all should look up his work.
He's doing some amazing stuff in Chicago. Not even just with just contemporary art that's considered regular form, but also he creates spaces, which is amazing.
Facts.
Mm-hmm.
Facts.
On the south side of Chicago.
Facts.
Yeah.
All right. I like that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
Also,
let me add it. I gotta trade somebody out. I think I would say Tupac though.
Tupac? Okay.
Yeah, Tupac is up there for me.
That's fine.
I am a Tupac stan.
Okay.
I am a fan of Tupac. Yeah.
He's a poet.
Yeah,
He's an
Tupac
artist.
is that guy. He's that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's that guy.
Tupac is. Yeah.
So today we're talking about faith in a digital age. And as Tab Global Digital Minister, I've really been thinking about this conversation. So the other day, I was in my study at home, and I was actually looking for a different book. And I came across this book that I really, really loved when I was at school at Emory University. It was called The Digital Body of Christ. And I think it was written by a woman by the name of Dina Thompson, if I'm not mistaken. And one of the premises of the book was that, like, in this digital age, things are changing, and faith has to show up in the midst of the change. And I love that idea, where there are more people online in this moment than in person. And we also got to take into account the way COVID completely altered the ways in which, like, we relate to one another, the way in which, like, we respond to one another, the ways in which, like, we commune together, you know, our access to information, or even the overwhelm of information. And even right now, we think about even something like simple as podcasts. Like, ever since COVID, I would love to see a study about, like, how many podcasts were pre-COVID and post-COVID. Because I feel like post-COVID podcasting became a real thing. And, like, there's in this moment, in this digital age that we find ourselves in, always a necessity to wrestle with, like, okay, how do we show up? What is happening here? What are the needs? What do we do? Yes. So, digital age. Best I can describe it. How would you even unpack that? Because I don't want to even use like Webster or like a scientific definition. But, like, when you think about a digital age, like, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that everything is kind of driven by technology. Everything is driven by something that is not human. Well, something that humans have created but aided through technology. I would say that. But that may also be somewhere in somebody's dictionary, like,
facts.
journal or something.
I mean, you are brilliant.
It's not an original thought.
You're brilliant, though.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will say that's what I think the digital age is. Just being aided, human interactions being aided by technology in whatever form or format.
Yeah, that's real. Same. I think in some sense, like, the digital age is an age in which, like, our most critical social interactions and experience is guided by digital automation.
Yes, which is heavy.
Yes. So a part of me, because I'm less concerned about the kind of business or, like, technological side of digital age, and more of, like, what is happening to us.
Yes.
That's that because I think that's what because a part of being a church, being the church, or thinking theologically, is not just thinking about, okay, on this meta level, like, what is happening here theologically? What is the meaning of this? Like, no, not just the meaning or the interpretation of it, but, like, what is happening here? What is it doing to us? So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, honestly, you still have to hold space for both sides, even the business aspect, because the reason why it exists is because of money and revenue. Like, that's period.
True.
And the reasons why it was pushed on us, not just because we adopted it during COVID, it was also something that was already continuing to be something that was accessible mostly to younger generations. And the older generations, even in business and in personal life, really didn't adopt it. Like, most churches also didn't really invest a whole lot of money in digital ministries. Some did, but others kind of did, but they needed a better justification for such things. But then, of course, with COVID, you got to reach the people.
Yeah, you do.
You have to reach the people. You got to get a pulse on what's happening so that you can also hold space for them even digitally, and to know what to share, what they need to hear for encouragement.
Yeah, one of the things that I've been, like, ever since, I came on in 2020, one of the things I've really been just so aware of, and I feel like such a deep sense of, like, limitation in this too, is, like, the needs of real people, like, that can only almost be crossed through a digital bridge, is, like, great and immense. And, like, it can be also like, overwhelming. Because on one hand, there's, like, this pressure. Like, there's something about, I feel like when COVID happened and churches began to get more online, there became this pressure to be, like, this thing that like someone else was. I'm not saying like this happened at Tabernacle or whatever. I'm just thinking like there was like, okay, what is the best digital experience? So I'm gonna pay attention to that. You know, at that time it was like you could have had a great time on Sunday service physically, but it really didn't matter if if their digital like prowess was not that good or had to catch up to date. It was like there was like so much pressure to like, you know, like have this thing or be this thing. And I think a lot of times, or I think now a few years later, many of those things like kind of came back to this need. We need to be cared for. And we have to we want community, we need community, and we're estranged from one another, we're disillusioned with the world, and like we actually need help. It wasn't really truly about like how great one was digitally. I think it's about like, okay, how good are we at adjusting how we care? And I just think that that's a question I'm still wrestling with, and how to do the best kind of care, even as a digital minister, because I know like COVID did something to us, like the rise of COVID and the rise of technology and how those two worlds merged. Like I'm worried. Honestly, I'm worried.
I mean, honestly, there's a lot of research that states that we should be. And being worried, I think, is important, or being mindful or observing that there's a disconnect is important. I'll be honest with you. Like, I think I'm appreciative of a lot of spaces of worship that adopted digital anything during COVID and before COVID so that they could pivot easily and had the resources to do so. Because I feel like I needed it. I remember that was something that kind of kept me going and kept me grounded. Reading and being in community with friends, reading books together also, and being on FaceTime, talking about it and discussing it. And also, I will say that it did do something to us. And I think it's important for us to be mindful of the fact that there's a generation of human beings that we have completely left behind. And that is our older generation.
Yes.
Everything shifted to digital, and they didn't have computer classes when they were in school. Most of the things that they did is through mail and mailing their bill payments in. Like when it came time for them to even, do census during that time or apply for, any resources that were available, everything was digital. Nothing was mailed to them. So I think it's important for us to also remember, like what we talked about in the last episode, how we have to hold space for the old and the new.
Yes.
And we can't lose sight of that. Like as much as we want to adopt digital things, we have to remember that we are human beings, and human beings are more than just in our heads and intellectual and thinkers. Like our bodies have to do something. Like there's this phrase that comes up, that came up in my psych class. It's embodiment and the wisdom of the body. And if we're constantly in a digital space, we're, not in our bodies. We're mostly in our heads and thinking in another reality, which is in the internet.
You read, or we read. I'm all these things we read, we like saying it to each other. Like, oh, I really like this. You should read this. So came across this Atlantic article that was recently written. And really, actually, before that article, I had just recently listened to this podcast called The Gray Area with Sean Illing. I think that's the name, through Vox. And it was a psychologist talking about the screen. The podcast episode was called The Screens Between Us. And what she was arguing is that, like, like with the rise of these screens, it is doing something on a very chemical level, on a metaphysical level to human beings. Like our brain chemistry is being altered. The way we interact with one another is being altered. Then you take into the fact of social media and depression and manipulation, and also not just a digital age, but an information age in which we're overwhelmed with information. It's like, bro, like, dog, if I get one more Instagram DM of like a video that somebody put together talking about research, like I almost get overwhelmed with these videos, and I'm just like, y'all, like I can't take it. Like I'm trying to read a book over here. Bro, like we are so misinformed as people. And I feel like that's the point. The overwhelm and the ignorance and the misinformation is the point. You know, for somebody to get some type of, benefit from it, but it's like doing something to us. And one of the demographics that's struggling the most is young people. Where young people, many of their relationships are struggling because of, social media or the digital, like struggle to communicate, struggle to focus, struggle to simply play, just go outside and be normal and go enjoy things. So the essay was called The
Antisocial Century.
Okay.
By Derek Thompson.
The Antisocial Century.
Yeah.
Take us through that a little bit. And then we'll talk about it because I think it's very important.
Yeah.
There's just some things that stuck out to you.
One of the biggest things that stuck out to me was this concept by a philosopher by the name of Andrew Taggart. He has this phrase called the secular monk. And the secular monk is a person that's obsessed with optimization, and also a person that is also wanting to optimize everything, but is also proudly alone.
Wow.
And, there was a lot of data and things that they attributed to that around what it looks like to be a teenager during the time, over the span of from 1980 to present time, and how most teenagers now over time have become obsessed with being the best at everything, being able to do all things all the time, but then also they're alone and lonely.
Yeah.
So they're able to do so much, but also they're by themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though it seems as though with all the friends and followers on social media and that world that they've created, in reality, there is nothing.
I know. Which is crazy.
It's very sad.
Yeah, it's actually very sad, actually. Because it's like, who are your friends? And it's very struggle to name them. Because, there's, a lack of quality and depth to relationships. Mm-hmm. I think really of so much,
everything is just more so transactional.
Yeah.
A digital space. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very rewarding. You like you like mine, I like yours.
Exactly.
You comment on mine, I comment on yours.
Exactly.
I share this with you, you share this with me. I'm doing this, you promote my thing. Yeah.
I wonder what it's doing to us.
Oh, it's dopamine is now it's something different. You're usually rewarded dopamine for good things that you do. But with social media being liked, it alters what it really is for you. You're no longer, if you're getting praised for everything that you do, when you finally do something, it no longer means anything, which is sad.
And then the inverse can happen.
What?
Where, where you feel like the thing that you do is not even good enough.
Correct.
So you don't
no one liked it.
Yeah, no one liked it. No one sees it. Mm-hmm. No one this and that. So it's almost like the kind of, it was kind of weird, like the meltdowns that was happening during the social media ban. And
for TikTok, right?
For TikTok, yeah. And just seeing the meltdowns, which regardless of where people fall on that, I have my own personal opinion that I'm not going to share on here about particularly TikTok, but my opinion about social media. And I think that we need to find ways to collectively regulate ourselves and some governing body to regulate how social media organizations and companies run themselves and to be accountable to both the people and to organizational governing body. Mm-hmm. That's the hill I'm gonna die on.
Okay.
Is that we need to be the lack of accountability of what is all this doing to us and what are we doing to one another? Because we live in a time where everything is about innovation. Innovate ways to ChatGPT, innovate ways to create things or make things easier. I got to a point where it changed me too. So I was so as a writer, I was messing with to make the process more efficient, right? So I was leaning on that efficiency. I need ChatGPT to make this more efficient. Then I read a article entitled "Why ChatGPT Won't Make Good Art," and I'm like, okay, I get it. I feel you. I hear you, God. Like, I'm a writer. I hear you, God, or whatnot. And I'm like, I won't ever use it to like write things for me, but to make things efficient. And efficiency is good. But after reading this piece by Ted Chiang in the New Yorker, like it really changed me and made me step back and like, hold on, bro. That's real. So he talked about how ChatGPT can make things efficient. Algorithms can make things efficient. These supercomputers can make things efficient. But the distinguishing factor between the human and the computer is effort. That's what distinguishes the art that we make and the living that we do and the relationships that we have and the faith that we possess or the experience in faith that we have. It's like, it is about effort. And effort is what makes us human. And when we lose that effort, we lose an integral part of our humanity.
Yeah, I hear that. And I will also just add to that, too, even though, brilliant writers have probably a lot of research behind what they said is effort. But I will also say imperfections is important, too, as a human experience and as a creative. And also, when I think about, from a theological perspective, God is a creator first. And it makes me just think about the fact that we are creating too as artists, and to be able to create and make good art, you also have to keep doing it. Yes. And that is the effort, like what was said in the article. But then I also think like the part that is missing too is our embodiment. And when I think about like spirituality and the embodiment of what it means to be human versus to be a robot, it's also what connects us. Yes. It connects us and also allows for us to be better and to evolve. But if we continue trying to, like the spiritual monks, being super optimized, we miss things. We miss opportunities to truly grow. Yes. Like you can't mature if you don't have any practice.
Yes.
Like you can't. Yes. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So I do, like I mentioned before, I do appreciate technology. I work in the technological field. And also I have to adopt it in being in school right now, which I'm grateful for. But I think as people, we have to be mindful of how much we're allowing it to curate our lives and be a part of our lives, because we also have the power and authority to do that as well. We don't have to be subjective to, because now this is the new innovative thing, you don't have to be the first person to adopt it. Like that doesn't have to be the thing to do.
Exactly.
And then also, you could just put it down and go outside.
Yes.
Like go outside, touch the grass.
Facts.
Touch grass.
Exactly.
Run throw.
Exactly.
And I also, when I was reading this article, I was thinking about too something, in my experience as being an athlete. And I'm thinking about even little kids now and children now. It's not an expectation that every child has to do something and play a sport. That's not what I'm saying when I say this. But it is to do something, practice an instrument, get out, learn how to dance, learn how to skate, learn how to ride a bike. And I think like that process of, being a student athlete, that's what I'm getting back to. I had to learn how to trust my body to do certain things to perform in the sport. So for example, in running track, it's just you and the track. Like you can't blame it on a teammate. You can't blame it on nothing. It's you, the track, your cleats, or, your running shoes and what you have on and the gun. It's just you and the lines. And everything that shows up at the meets is what you put in practice, what you put in the gym, what you put in, even in training with your coaches, what you listen to. And I think in experiencing that, it allowed for, and I think it will allow for us and also children today to be able to remember what it's like to be inside themselves and not escape into an alternate reality. Because embodiment, I think, is super important if we want to continue to have influence in the younger generation's lives. Yeah. Because all that they will combat anything with is what they think.
Yeah.
And it's not about what you think, is what it is.
That's so good. Say it again.
Which part?
It's not about what you think.
It's not about what you think. It's about what it is. And what it is reality. It's not on the internet.
Yeah, that's real. What's crazy is I was been working on a chapter on this in my book, and I told my editor the other day, I was like, "Yo, I gotta write on AI." Like, I don't know why.
Oh, okay.
But I have to retrace the father of AI, and I gotta retrace, like, I just had this overwhelming desire to, like, attempt to explore what that question of, like, what is this doing to us? What choices have been made for us, and what choices have we been given? So I'm gonna like go back to watch like Terminator and write about that, and like all these like things that talk about like, the technological age and human beings' place and part in it. And one of the things that like haunted me in my research was the father of AI gave this talk the other day. He's still living. He's an older computer scientist, brilliant guy, brilliant dude. He gave a talk the other day, and he was like, the other month, and he said, I don't mean to scare us, but like AI is going to lead to our demise much quicker than I anticipated. And I like wonder now he's like, I wonder like, what have I done? And I thought about that because I also read a piece about a girl who has a digital boyfriend. It was recently in the New York Times. And one of my friends was just like lamenting, like, yo, what is happening to us, bro? Like something is on this real level is like happening to us. And I think that like it's altering like how we are human. And let me be clear. Like, so much of what I do is online. Like, so much of who I am is online. So much of who we are online. So I don't think that like we fight against the water and the wind per se. Like, oh, like let's go to a point of like, so the opposite of like optimization would be like, let's go back. Everybody go back to flip phones, which I think is probably a cool idea. I ain't against it.
I've thought about it.
I'm not against it. I just told Jazz today, hey, babe, I think I'm going to get me a flip phone for my work phone. And so I'm not against it. But, like, I think there's something to be said about, like, okay, this is the world we're living in. How do we think about, like, consequences of it? And how do we not, like, fall into, like, the extremism? But, like, how do we, like, keep safeguards on it? Because I've been thinking about this, especially as a minister. And the people around us, I've really been thinking about this, especially after the last election cycle, because the election cycle was won or lost online in a very real way, which is to suggest, I think, it was actually won and lost offline, which I think that it was actually, quote unquote, won online and lost offline, if I can put it that way. That, like, we as human beings were so polarized because our information is overwhelmed, misinformed, exploited, manipulated, to the point where, like, we don't even know ourselves together. So when I think about faith, there's a scripture in the Hebrew Bible, in the Old Testament, where the people of God are called repairers of the breach. Mm-hmm. And I think for those of us who are people of faith, that means that, like, if we are to do the reparative work, then we cannot just exit and just say we're not going to engage in digital age life. But I also think that if we're going to be there, we got to do reparative work. If we're going to be there, we got to, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that, but I will say this, and this might be a little... Here I go.
Hey, I like it.
I always do.
Hey.
I'm going to say, like, I think it's going to boil down to discipline, right? Because you don't have to be online. Like, you don't have to share certain things. You don't have to scroll or doom scroll looking for more information. Yep. I think what is required of us as people is to be more disciplined. Like, if someone put in front of me a bowl of sugar every day, I don't have to eat it. Like, I don't have to sleep with my phone in the bed with me. I don't sleep with my phone in bed, but you know what I'm saying?
For sure.
But I don't have to, the first thing that I do in the morning, I can start to taper myself off by not letting my phone be the first thing that I open. I can leave it in another room and let it charge.
Yeah.
I can only pick it up to look at text messages at noon. Like, slowly we can just start having a different type of relationship with our devices. Because I will say, the pandemic, 2020, being stuck in the house, being and not knowing what to do, our phones became what we use to connect. But now that we're back outside, we have to remember that outside is better than being inside the screens, because we're back outside now. And I think that may also have something to do, not just all things, but a major part of why people don't come into the church space, because they don't really remember how to anymore, or they didn't know how to do it in the first place. And it just feels weird. It's a lot of people. A lot of people are more anxious now. And you can temper some of the anxiousness sometimes by just only being online and on the internet. But I think it's something that's super important for us to remember to do now in the year of our Lord 2025. The outside is open. Come back outside.
Hey, get outside.
Get outside.
All right, let's leave them with something like, okay, we're thinking about faith in the digital age. We've gone through technology and what it's doing to us and how it's affecting us. We thought critically about it, but also I want to think about, like, just to leave people with, how does one embody their faith in the digital age? And just give them some practical tips to take home.
Embody their faith in the digital age.
Because to me, I think faith is discipline also. It's like, it's not just simply like, oh, what you believe about God. Faith is like how you live. So if I believe that a part of this thing is like doing something to our humanity, then I take steps to like intervene into what it's doing. So part of me, for example, I would suggest that people, spend less time on their phones, spend less time in their screens, to get back in touch with themselves. I would also say that, especially if people are online and in church, have your online church moments, but find creative ways to meet together with people who are in your local area and people who are your online digital community. Because digital community is a real thing. Like the people, so for example, there are thousands of people I interact with in a given moment, in a given month, period. And those are real people. Even though they're on the screen, like when I DM them and I hear them and I talk to them and I show up for them, I respond to their comments, to them, like they felt heard, they felt seen, they felt inspired and cared for. And as simple as that. It's just like showing up for people wherever they're at, but especially show up for people in a physical way. So to me, that's my two things.
Yeah, and I'll say to what you're saying, I think it's important that, we remember that for every person that we know online that's not in our local community, there's someone that is just like them in our local community who needs us to show up for them.
That's good.
And I think that, you can be active online, yes. However, there are real people next door to you.
Yes.
There are real people at the grocery store. Stop ordering your stuff and have them drop off. Go see people. We need you. That you can be present with, that you can show up for. And also, I love being outside. I wash my clothes at the laundromat by choice because I want to be and see people. And there are certain people who are there at the laundromat that I would never have interactions with, but I also want to take care of my community in whatever way that I can. Like, I still go to the library. But I will say, like, just get outside. For whatever hour that you spend online, spend that hour outside. Because your phone now tells you how much screen time you've been spending on your device. So if you've been spending 6 hours on your phone, then now you owe 6 hours to the rest of us outside.
Dang,
because we
so
need
good,
you.
Tykia.
Yeah.
That's so good.
That will be my advice. For the amount of time you spend on your phone and your devices, spend that amount of time outside. Pick up a hobby, join a running club, join a walking club, go to church, start a reading club.
Come walk with us.
Join one.
Refresh.
Come walk with us on Refresh starting in February
Hey,
if you're in
come
the
on.
Augusta area.
Yeah.
Also join a small group.
Yes.
Just anything. Go hug on your grandma.
Hey, man.
Go sit with her if you can. If you still have your, the older people in your family, go bring them lunch. You just never know what that does. Go visit a nursing home. Go read a book, or just take them something, not something sweet because usually their sugar's high, but bring them something to allow them to know that people still care about them outside of a facility.
Yes.
Just care about your community.
Yeah.
So for the amount of time you spend on your screen, spend that amount of time outside.
That's good. That's good.
With us, because I need you. I miss you.
Facts. That's real. That's so good. And I'm going to take that home. I'm going to put that into practice this week.
Come on.
I really appreciate that. That's very good. And I just think that at the end of the day, people are what matter.
Yeah.
Like,
and I want to encourage anyone that's watching, no matter what, please interact in our comment section. If there's something that resonates with you or a piece of advice that you would like to impart, we want to hear it. I want to know. We want to know how you feel about what are the things you think that we should do to have a better relationship with technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's real. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Get outside.
Get outside.
See y'all later.
Peace.
See y'all.